If you're about to retire with your 401k, Social Security benefits waiting for you, maybe even a pension, you're facing one of the biggest financial decisions of your entire life. And most people get the order wrong. They claim income source first. They wind up locking themselves into a higher tax bill for the rest of retirement and leave tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. We demonstrate this to investors every single week. Today, I'm going to show you how to think about this decision the right way. Hi, I'm Mark Wisniewski with Southern Incomes. What should I claim first? I get this question all the time. So let's break it down. If this is helpful, like and subscribe. And there's a link below to work with me one-on-one. First, let's understand why the order matters so much. Here's the thing. Every dollar you pull from your 401k or traditional IRA gets taxed as ordinary income. Social Security can be taxed too, but depending on your other income, it might only be 50% taxable or 85% taxable, or maybe even completely tax-free. And if you have a pension, that's fully taxable income the moment you turn it on. So the order in which you tap into these sources determines how much you pay in taxes every single year for the rest of your life. Let's say you're 62 and you retire with $800,000 in your 401k, $30,000 in an annual pension that you could start anytime, and maybe your Social Security is $2,000 a month now, or $2,800 a month if you wait until 70. If you claim everything immediately because you're worried about running out of money, you might push yourself into the 22% or maybe even the 24% tax bracket and stay there forever. But if you're strategic about it, you might stay in that 12% bracket for years, save a fortune in taxes, and end up with a lot more money in your pocket. Second, here's the default strategy most people use and why it's usually wrong. Most retirees do this. They claim Social Security as soon as they're eligible, at 62. They turn on their pension right away, and then they leave their 401k alone, thinking they're being smart by letting it grow. So what's the problem? Well, you're locking in lower Social Security payments for life, you're triggering taxable pension income immediately, and you're letting that 401k grow into a massive tax bomb that's going to explode when required minimum distributions kick in at age 73. By the time you're 75, you could be forced to pull out $60,000, $80,000, even $100,000 a year from your 401k, whether you need that money or not. That income stacks on top of your pension and Social Security, pushing you into higher tax brackets and potentially triggering income-based Medicare surcharges. It's a disaster. And it all started because you claim things in the wrong order. Third, let me give you a better framework to think about this. The goal is simple. Live off the right income sources at the right time to minimize your lifetime tax bill and maximize your overall wealth. Here's a general strategy that works for a lot of people. But remember, your situation might be slightly different. In your early retirement years, let's say age 62 to 70, you want to live off of your 401k or IRA. I know it sounds backwards, but hear me out. If you just retired, your income is probably low because you're not working anymore. You haven't claimed Social Security yet. You haven't turned on your pension. This is the time to pull money from your 401k while you're in that low tax bracket, maybe 10% or maybe 12%. You're paying the lowest tax rate you're ever going to pay on that money. At the same time, you're letting your Social Security grow. Every year you delay Social Security past age 62, your benefit increases by about 7 to 8%. If you wait until 70, you could be getting 75% more per month than if you claimed at 62. That's a guaranteed return you can't get anywhere else. And Social Security is inflation adjusted, and it lasts for life. It's one of the best annuities you'll ever have, so let it grow. Fourth, here's where pensions fit into the equation. If you have a pension, the decision gets more complicated. Some pensions let you delay the start date, others don't. Some offer a lump sum option, others are annuity-based. And some pensions have survivor benefits that matter if you're married. Here's what I generally see that works well. If your pension amount is relatively small, let's say $2,000 a month, and you can delay it, consider waiting. Use your 401k income in the early years instead, just like with Social Security. But if your pension is large, or if waiting doesn't really increase the benefit much, it might make sense to turn it on sooner. The key question is, what's the tax impact? If turning on a $40,000 pension at 62 pushes you into a higher tax bracket and limits your ability to do those Roth conversions or other tax planning, it might be worth delaying. But if you need the guaranteed income and it keeps you out of your 401k, that could be the right move. You have to run the numbers. Fifth, don't forget about required minimum distributions. Once you hit age 73, the IRS forces you to start taking money out of your traditional 401k and IRAs. So the amount's going to be based on the account balance and your expected lifespan. And here's the problem. If you haven't been pulling money out in your 60s, your balance could be huge by the time those RMDs start. I've seen people with $500,000, $3 million in their IRA who get hit with $70,000, $80,000, and even $100,000 RMDs. That income is fully taxable, and it might push you into a tax bracket you never wanted to be in. This is why spending down your 401k early on and letting Social Security grow often makes sense. You wind up taking control of your income instead of letting the IRS control it for you. You're smoothing out your tax bill over time, and you're avoiding that giant RMD problem down the road. 6, let's talk about Social Security taxation and why timing matters. A lot of people don't realize Social Security can be taxed. If your combined income, that's your adjusted gross income plus 1/2 of your Social Security, exceeds certain thresholds, up to 85% of your Social Security becomes taxable. For a married couple, if your combined income is over $44,000, you start paying taxes on Social Security. Over $44,000 is not much, especially if you're pulling from a 401k and have a pension. Those thresholds are set by law and they're not indexed for inflation, which is why so many retirees get caught by surprise on this. So here's the strategy. If you can keep your other income low early in retirement years, carefully managing those 401k withdrawals and delaying Social Security, you might be able to minimize or even avoid taxes on Social Security benefits later on. And it's all about controlling your income to stay below those thresholds. 7th, here's a real-world example to tie it all together. Let's say you're 62, married, and you have $900,000 in your 401k, $25,000 in an annual pension, and Social Security that would pay $2,500 a month now or $3,500 a month at age 70. And we're going to say you need $70,000 a year to live on. Option A, you claim Social Security at 62. That's $30,000 a year. You turn on your pension, $25,000 a year, and you pull $15,000 a year from your 401k to make up that difference. Now, your total income is $70,000. It sounds fine, right? But now you're locked in to $30,000 a year in Social Security forever. You're paying taxes on all of it. And when those RMDs start at 73, you're going to be forced to pull even more from your 401k, pushing your income even higher and higher. Option B, you delay Social Security until 70, delay your pension until 65, and live entirely off of your 401k, pulling $70,000 a year. Yes, I know you're depleting the 401k faster, but you're doing it in low tax brackets. And when you turn 70, your Social Security is now $42,000 a year instead of that $30,000. You turn on your pension at 65 for $25,000. Now you have $67,000 in guaranteed income, and you barely need to touch your 401k anymore. You just added $12,000 a year in extra Social Security income for life. That's an extra $240,000 if you happen to live to 90. So which option's better? For most people, it's not close. Option B wins by a landslide, but it requires you to be comfortable with spending down your 401k early, and a lot of people aren't. Eighth, understand that this is not a one-size-fits-all deal. If you have health issues and you don't expect to live past 75, claiming Social Security early might make a lot of sense. If you have a spouse who's much younger and you want to maximize those survivor benefits, that changes the strategy. If you're still working part-time or you have rental income, that affects your tax picture. If your 401k balance is small, you might need to claim Social Security sooner just to cover your expenses. What's the point? The point is this: you can't just follow some rule book that's out there. You have to look at your full situation, your health, your expenses, your other income sources, your tax situation, your goals, and build a plan that works for you. Ninth, here's the biggest mistake I see people make. They make this decision based on fear instead of math. They're terrified of spending down their 401k, so they claim Social Security early to preserve their savings. Or they're scared Social Security will run out, so they grab it as fast as possible. Or maybe they just don't trust themselves to manage money, so they turn on every single income source immediately just to feel secure. And I get it. Retirement is scary. But fear-based decisions almost always cost you money. The people collecting your taxes benefit from your fear. The math is pretty clear. For most people, delaying Social Security, using your 401k strategically in your 60s, and managing those tax brackets will leave you better off. But you have to run the numbers and make a plan. If you want help figuring out the right claiming strategy for your 401k, Social Security, and pension, and building a retirement income plan that actually works, book a time with me using the link in the description. Let's make sure you're not leaving money on the table.